It is June 20th, 2019. It is cell phone time, 12:25 p.m. Been about 4 to 5 minutes ago, I have to say, about 12:20. I was in the restroom here in my house, and I was looking at the surveillance system cams that I have on another inter-house connected phone that's connected only to Wi-Fi, no cellular. The app itself crashed. I laid the phone down, the app crashed. So I test trialed everything, exact steps that I did, and it didn't crash the second time. The strange thing is a police, I'm going to have to wait for that in a second. I'm almost positive it's a police helicopter flew over top the house, or at least within the area of hearing it being close, as feeling as if it was around the house. Here in a second, I should have already had this information up there, but there's something called flight tracker, and I'll be able to pull this guy up. I'll be able to pull the flight path, unless they've landed within the last 5 minutes, type of situation. Columbus, and then there's been some airplanes all of a sudden not showing up on the flight tracker that's been in the area. As of right now, I don't see the helicopter whatnot in the area, at which point I'll show that. The helicopter's not there. Maybe it's going to take some time to register, maybe come in a little farther, figure out what's going on there, even though I shouldn't have to. I'm over here bending my camera. I'm not seeing anything show up for the police helicopter. I'm going to go ahead and call in to figure out where that's at. It didn't land at the hospital. There's a hospital, or was, relatively close. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom all the way in. Because usually you can click on the aircraft and it'll give a flight pattern also. When it took off, when it landed, all that good shit. Excuse the lingo. So, I'm being electronically jammed, and I'm almost positive it's intentional, on top of, besides the neighbors and iterating their connections. Hey buddy, we're monitoring you in your house, causing psychological and emotional injury and trying to disrupt my life to the point of actually taking control of it authoritatively, why nobody else knows what's going on, which I've already had law enforcement in other states outright proven stalking, interference, and illegal interference to the point it wouldn't even be kind of like a criminal crime of just harassment. It went up in the charts in severity. Human rights violations and all kinds of other things. And whatever else they found that these guys was illegally utilizing. Not just the electronic devices, but the tactics, techniques, anything and everything else that was involved. But as I'm looking here, I've given the app quite a few minutes to come up with the police helicopter, or what helicopter it was. There's no helicopter up there. No helicopter flies fast enough to get out of the range of what I'm looking at. More than likely, helicopters are usually pretty local. And the way that it was flying, it was a police helicopter. Police or news. So, they're usually, in some reason, all of a sudden, my app's messed up here. While somebody's giving me an authoritative attitude, you don't track us. We can track you, but you don't track us. Is it not right to track FAA situations? Not that I'm only tracking police. The intent, the reason why I got this app is because airplanes started flying within the last couple of months again, basically within the house's range, and it's disturbing. So I just wanted to see where these airplanes are going. 90% that I've seen was going to Atlanta, Georgia. What I'm going to say, homosexual organized crime, homosexual oriented type of stuff. I've explained it before, I'll explain it later, but there's a lot of homosexual, and I'm going to mark it as homosexual organization and influence, trying to influence, not just influence, enforce against me. You become part of us, or else we'll utilize tactics, harshness, attack you with whatever, and interfere with your daily life. But the thing is if I move, they've stalked out of state, which is interstate stalking. And they've done this for 20 plus years. And there's proof, even back 2006, even prior to that, 2002, of the situation happening where it's actually criminal stalking. Organized, trying to play organized crime, cartel, slavery, we own your ass type of situation. The police were involved with participation. Even though you'd say the police are the ones advising this, which police? The trustworthy cop or the cop that's associated that is a cop misutilizing his authority? Or doing wrong while underneath oath? Anyways, with that being said, imagine that. I'm going to call into the app, and I'm going to call into the FAA, see what I can get on track record of the helicopter that just flew over. Should have been about, it was in the air at 12:21 p.m. So, there's that. I was going to show that this helicopter flew over. I took a screenshot of the app crash on this phone. It just said Z-Viewer app has closed unexpectedly type of situation. I just went over, the helicopter was gone, and hey, it didn't happen a second time. Exact same button presses and everything else. So, not just strange, not even coincidental. Done tired of, ain't that just a coincidence? I'm going to have to almost say a for surety, and the only way to do that, I don't have the money to get it right now, is oscillators and detecting devices that can detect the electronic interference, even if it's law enforcement trying to pertain that it's legal. I've already heard that they need warrants for electronic wiretaps, all the legal stuff that a person has the rights to protect themselves, and they're violating majorly. On top of them utilizing excessive force of stuff like LRAD, long-range acoustic devices. But it may not even be just that, but a similarity of it. But it's something similar to that, affecting me every single day here in the house and outside the house. So, if they knowingly are committing the crime under the oath and it is found out, they'll get criminally persecuted just like anybody else. Matter of fact, not just like anybody else. They're under the oath and the disguise or guise of the government. They will take a harsher rap. I was told some of them take an immediate 5 years of breaking that oath. That's an immediate criminal charge on top of whatever criminal charge and accusations if they get convicted, and or it doesn't matter. Whatever works out, that's a possibility just by them being law enforcement and abusing power, wrongfully doing shit is 5 years for them. Now, they may not hold up the whole 5 years. They'd be sentenced 5 years, given 6 months in jail, and 4.5 years probation. Work a deal. But either way, it still states the 5-year type of situation. I was told this by internal affairs, other law enforcement agencies, and all that stuff way, 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 way in the past. Because I'm being taken advantage of intellectually by law enforcement, including on top of other organized crime situations going on. And a lot of it also leads into what I dub, and what I've been trying to get dubbed, and some of them's following into it, is homosexual organized crime. Targeting not only me, but utilizing me as a target to also influence communal and other situations. So, and enforcing it, empowering it, threatening and intimidating, just like an organized crime mob would do. I'm going to go ahead and end this video, and I'm going to pull this screen up one more time, maybe refresh it, see what happens. The helicopter usually has a certain amount of path around the city, and it's not popping up, so I'm going to go ahead and call in about this and see what's up with it. Target of unlawfulacts.com. I'm just producing a lot of my stuff is rambling, personal complaint, crybaby, but I still want to produce it right now until I get all this legalital shit worked out and some good concrete stuff for other people going through the same thing. Like maybe lawyers involved and being able to understand, hey, this ain't right, this is what I went through, this is what you can go through, possibly, and help out, maybe strengthen allies without manipulating or maliciously attacking someone with it. Everything, for every action there's a reaction, or whatever it be, that somebody has the information of good and uses it for the bad is not completely what I want there. and not to produce it out and me be at fault and feel that I'm held liable for giving the others or anybody else that would misuse it intentionally, reversefully, against someone else or whatever. But to help those who, are in the same predicament or have certain predicaments that I've been through, and even parts of it like stalking and all that stuff, how to take care of the situation and end it. But psychological injury, emotional injury are real things. Psychological injury is hardcore. That means they've done a lot of psychological. It doesn't have to be physical hitting, psychological assault, to the point, my situation, of like life threatening. It's caused me not to be able to operate right. They've disgraced in the community. They've caused a situation where life is unlivable. Not just physically, like trying to physically harm. What I have been told by a psychologist is psychologically punching and battering. It's the same thing as a punch. Someone punching you in the gut. They don't physically do it, but they keep doing it mentally to the point that it hurts. It can harm you. Not just psychologically, physically. It drains the energy and the power out of your body. It's a possibility your body, to a certain extent, the way I'll explain it, reject that organ, per se. Or you have a stomach ache that turns into your body not correctly working, and dysfunctionality comes after that. Anyways, well, in this video, but the point of the video was electronic interference on this one. Police helicopter, I'm almost damn sure it was, just by the sound. Wasn't news. News has a little bit of different sound, but I can't put 100% on it. But hey, I put it this way. That helicopter is not on the flight tracker when it usually is. Somebody literally threatening me, you're not allowed to look at that stuff. We feel intimidated, buddy. Hey, you want to go look at Gavin? You want to go look at all these protesters against the police? Wiretapping me, how would you know what I'm looking at inside my house? But trying to push out the guise, hey, you want to act that way, we'll enforce against you. Which law enforcement, under the guise of intimidation and threat, can semi-do that. They don't have to articulate their name or badge number if the person that's trying to get it has been notorious for assaults, threats, crimes, and all that shit, to an extensive life-threatening or a possible attackful way, but it would have to be life-threatening. But they're trying to utilize things from this community. Hey, you threaten this, we're going to use it. I've already had an officer 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, utilize just that. Matter of fact, I have the video of that, and it should be posted to this YouTube. If not, I'll go get it and repost it to this YouTube. I was drunk, very drunk and intoxicated when that happened, but still remember it. And someone's standing there. That means what I'm under is the understanding of their intelligence, trying to take on my intelligence and outdo me anyhow. And whatever babyfied, what they're trying to utilize will fuck you any which way that you think you can be fucked. Excuse the lingo. Will screw with you whatever which way you think it's going to be. I'm not the one invoking the situation, they are. It's been busted elsewhere, police associating with community crime, community harassment, and belittling. And that's all they're doing. Vehicular verbal harassment, vehicular sign gestures, vehicular stalking. But anyways, it wasn't here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm off of Gift Street and Walnut Street. Anybody wants to check into that, I believe FAA, it'd take money now, I bet, to get into that. But I'm going to find out what it is. I'm also going to contact the app to see if they can't get me the data or why the data is not there for the helicopter being there. But you can check into Gift Street and Walnut Street, Columbus, Ohio, at 12:20, even do 12:21 p.m. But technically all you have to know is if an aircraft, a helicopter aircraft, was in the air. I'm just going to ramble that out real quick. Anyways, I know the FAA log website should have something there. Why would they be blacked out? I need to recall in to see why they would do a privacy situation when they're flying a public aircraft. The citizens and the taxpayers pay that, I believe. They may have a loophole, they may have a protection right, and invoking that, utilizing me, that I'm a threat and intimidation to them, which has been also outproven elsewhere. I was being attacked. I was verbally or becoming agitated to attack back, which is entrapment, and they was utilizing it. We're authority, we tell you how it works, and what I see is you being aggressive, even though I caused it, so you're in the wrong. I'm authority, I can't be touched, but you can, and I'll exploit that to the rest of the community and the rest of anybody else that wants to acknowledge it, so I get away with assaulting you. Anyways, sorry about the slowness. All kinds of bad things have happened. I've already woke up today with bad dreams, hypnotic suggestions, massive ass scolding, scorning, basically psychological whipping, literally. Being spanked in the sleep and disciplined and all the rest of the stuff. While they're also allowing we're going to do whatever we want to ideology and feel of threat. So, you want to come on down, Walnut Street, Gift Street, Columbus, Ohio. Do your own investigations. I don't know how illegal or if that's legal. I believe it's legal to go ahead and invite the community to understand community affairs that somebody else is corrupting, including law enforcement and government, just to get their ways. They've been knocking down buildings around here. Who knows? Maybe they're trying to push me out of my house to be able to get an extra lot, to be able to build on or to own, to say they have the asset value of a city, whatnot. But dumb ideologies like that being played. So it's massive. But my main concern with this video was the helicopter, the app crash, but there's other things that happen when the helicopter's around, just like cable box messing up, eavesdropping, wiretapping on top. Even when the helicopter's not around, that's still constant. There's a gentleman that owns a shop across the street that likes running his mouth about the powers that they got that can harbor all of the electronics being utilized. What I found out, like in New York and in Colorado Springs, they're distributing this like an organized intelligence group, even though they're not affiliated government or have the authority and the groups that work hot. Distributing the devices to electronically jam, eavesdrop, and all that shit. Utilizing it for group fun or their own group reason. Organized crime starts to add in when you start applying a lot of different things. While I'm taking criticization that I'm mentally unstable for thinking that because I can't articulate it right, which I was told by a psychiatrist, the cops should be able to put together your story and help you out. And if they can't help you out understand it, they'll understand it themselves and write it up. That's their job. It's a supposed to, have to, mandatory situation anyways. But it's bad when the cops are the ones, again, corruptly attacking. Like I said, Colorado Springs and elsewhere, police were arrested, police were associated with community crime and participating with community crime. Complicity, I guess, is the word. Associating themselves with the battering, the belittling, the disgracing. I have lazy eye. It's gotten worse. There's other medical problems, so now I'm real cross-eyed, both eyes. Being able to lose that, and that's what we're telling you. You ain't shit. Being disgraced and completely human rights violated, humanly, psychologically, and physically broke down. It's called psychological injury, emotional injury. What causes that is psychological assault, which is a different degree of psychological harassment, which is a different degree when it comes to emotional assault and emotional harassment. They exist. They can also all coexist together. That's what I was told by a psychiatrist that works, or a psychologist that works for the county, and counselors and other people. And police being trained with some of this expertise and this intelligence, and then misutilizing it, hard to prove, especially if they're intentionally trying to cover up their tracks. Then it's a massive situation. When found out, they'll go to prison longer than just a couple of months for harassment, human rights violation, and trying to do ill will and intent to cause injury to a severity that a human being isn't a human being anymore, or doesn't have a life to operate because you destroyed it. I'll go ahead and end on that note. Targetofunlawfulacts.com is my website. Not much there, but hey, whatever I put up, I guess, is freedom of information. They've already done this to me in the wrong way. 2008, where they exploited me not just here in Columbus but in New York City, and they do it to this day, repeat what I put up on a, what did they call it back then, a GeoCity website. Nobody knew of the website. I wasn't socially producing it completely like Facebook or anything else, so whoever had an acknowledgement of that website was eavesdropping, not just wiretapping. There's belief that there's cameras, hidden cameras and shit, which I found the equipment before, but right now I don't have a detector device to figure out how they're doing it. But no matter which way they're doing it, they're profiling, tracking, eavesdropping, all the above type of shit, and then utilizing it for their assaults. But yeah, they've seen it through the wiretap or the camera system that they had installed in the house, and then exploited it, sabotaging my life with it. And what you gonna do, bitch? Because hey, it's on the internet, freedom of information. Don't put things on the internet you don't want people to know. But this site, even though it was public to a certain extent, wasn't notorious. It needs to be tracked, because if you count the tracker hits, there's not enough traffic for it to exploit itself that way. The only way that it happened is if somebody else is exploiting it. Downloaded, printed it, and tried to challenge me, and did, not even tried, challenged me to it. Interstate stalking, because that site was built here in Columbus, Ohio, in a different place, Grove City actually. I take that back, it's produced in Grove City, Ohio, which is right next to Columbus. So how, okay, say they have a right locally to maybe do it, you wouldn't have the right to interstate stalk to another city such as New York City and exploit that. That'd be interstate stalking a crime, while you're also trying to commence, or they was trying to commence, psychological injury, human rights violations possibly, and whatever other slew of massive amount of majority of whatever can legally be held to them. I want to go ahead and end on that note. Peace. Remember, helicopter, app jamming, crashing, which was a security surveillance system in front of the house, with cameras that I can see live feed. 12:20 or 12:21 p.m. June 20th, 2019, Walnut Street, Gift Street, Columbus, Ohio. That's the point of the video. And then all of a sudden, the flight tracker, all the days that I've utilized it, except for the last 3 days, there have been a few planes that's missing. How the hell do you miss an airplane? Anything, I was explained by the FAA, that goes up in the air gets tracked. Now some, like a military F-16 aircraft, something like that, that needs to have its identity stealth, can stealth it, but there'd be paperwork probably in the long run of making understand it was, or something that somebody else can get a hold of. Would you like a plane just like what was happening in Colorado Springs, flying over the house, boom, 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 and not being able to tell somebody about it, especially if somebody's doing it, and covering up their tracks because they don't want the trouble, they cause the trouble no matter what. Just covering up the tracks so the situation seems like it never existed. Because F-16s flying off the Air Force bases out there and all that shit through over top the city. But to track that, to have somebody say, yes, that was an airplane. Because me, myself, I want to know, was it an airplane, a gas explosion? Is it a meteorite going to hit the planet? What was it? Was it some phenomenon that could reoccur, cause life-threatening damage? Can you tell me what it is? You know, I have a right to know if at least it was the aircraft, is what I believe, and I think I legally understand of what somebody else is saying, and in the long run, paperwork to the public is provided, at least a certain amount to say that plane was within that area, that's what caused it, or at least you can put that one and one together yourself. Anyways, ending this video. Sorry about the rambling, sorry about the low tone, disorganized speech, but hey, that's what happens when you have a neuromodulator illegally implanted in your head. And I've come to the conclusion, not just deep brain stimulator, vagus nerve stimulation, all the stuff that I keep saying being shocked through, is a neuromodulation implant drilled through the forehead, devices being put down through the left side of my leg, up through my heart, exactly the same operation and surgery procedures that they utilize for these other stimulators was performed on me with no paperwork and no existence. On top of that, even the mental health situation here in Columbus, Ohio, that somebody tried to sabotage me with, recognized and said, hey, we don't have paperwork for it, it doesn't exist. They have to mandatorily give us the paperwork to do a psychological evaluation and to understand your situation. And that would definitely completely obliterate the whole situation they're trying to rig up anyways. Because they didn't express that this is going on, and that's the influence of your maybe grumpiness or your agitation or whatnot. Something interfering physically and mentally, and all the above. It's a massive situation on that. If and it exists. But the whole point is we can't talk about it to a point because they're trying to hold that psychiatric, psychologically unstable, mentally profound, schizoid, paranoid situation that and belief that there's some type of implant. Well, in the future when it comes out, I want this video, and just like other things I'm printing out, to make understand that I represented this years ago. I went out to New York City where it was implanted at January 26th or 28th of 2010. I was transferred from one hospital to another, from Bellevue to a hospital next to about 14th Street and 5th Avenue. I have the hospital's name. They're the only ones that have the mental health license to implant neuromodulators and to do electroshock therapy and forced treatment. That's another thing they're implying. It's forced. I asked with the mental health, what about the forced situation? You have no paperwork or nobody signing off that you have to have any type of forced situation, period. So it's not running through their mental health system. And the force, if they are enforcing that, does create a situation with mental health. They have to absolutely know to work on the situations that supposedly exist. That is my human rights. That is my right to have the ability to understand also. Anyways, with that being said, that was way off from the original point of the video, but that's the massive amount of stuff I'm also going through. Think about other things, electronic devices, everything, furnaces, microwaves, air conditioners, TVs, everything electronic, and even probably not being interfered with. Now think about a pacemaker, and we'll do a simple device that has no mind control per se. It's just a device. Example as just a hole, a pacemaker, and it being interfered with. That'd be life-threatening. Could be. On top, it wouldn't be regulating right. It'd be interfering with a life support situation. A stimulator, a brain stimulator, such as deep brain stimulation or a vagus nerve stimulator or anything else in a such, while somebody wants to play microwaves and it's actually an electrode in the mind being stimulated. X-rays would prove this unless they're covering that up. MRIs would prove it unless they're covering that up. They can cover it up by modifying the device, X-ray devices, not to pick up on the devices in the body. If you have the implants, call in on it. If you don't, and ask the people, can they erase the device from being in the X-ray so the X-ray is clearer on all the organs or whatever tissues and everything else? And I was told yes. I was told by a technician after the phone call or whatever, I was told by a technician that somebody had him program the machine in a certain way that took the MRI and X-ray. So the device didn't show up. The implants wouldn't show up. I've had X-rays that weren't even mine. Dental anyhow. Put up on the stand and dental work done. That was in New York City. But New York City is blaming Columbus, Ohio, just like everybody else, of being the organized culprit, and they've been this way like 20 freaking years. Organized crime. It was busted elsewhere. It was busted Colorado Springs, mob-styled on top of all kinds. It's just a multitude of associations. But we'll go hardcore mob-styled organized crime, affiliating from Columbus, Ohio to Colorado Springs. Local law enforcement knowing it. What are you doing participating with it? Are you starting to collect a second paycheck type of situation? Associating complicity with crimes going on. Helping out. No trust. It led up into the FBI. It led into the police. It led into city works. It led into community works. It was just devastating. I have no paperwork for that. Mine was all socially done. There's very minor, and it's been so long ago, who knows if the paperwork exists, much less somebody, which I've had, law enforcement or not, papers just completely disappear. Papers written out completely different than what was discussed or what was there. Just outright somebody having all access to a system, and I'll fuck your life up. Anyways, almost going to end this video. NSA, CIA, top shit is involved, associations. I'm piecing the pieces together, but it doesn't hold right because it's not actual proof. It just gives an example and could be a possible lead. It's not a rock solid situation to some of them. There's other things that was rock solidized, but I never was able to take it on because I had no help. I had no money. I'm still in poverty now, even though I'm doing a little bit better. At least I'm getting a little bit of a monthly income, but don't have the money to go get these detectives, lawyers, and everything else to help, even though some volunteer things have happened and some intelligence, even personally, I can use to be able to take control, to empower myself, and to feel not just good about myself, but to empower that empowerment and empower over the people doing it and push them back just a little bit. Anyways, gonna end this video with that, and yeah, there you go. I have a flight tracker that's not recording an aircraft. Possibly there's two situations. One, there is a slim possibility it wasn't a police helicopter, but it still interfered, is what I'm feeling. Still an airborne situation, just like the Cessna planes flying around. Two, the air, it could have landed within the time that I got on the video and showed, and was trying to show the aircraft in the air, which usually probably not exactly expected. Their usual kind of pass at once, if they're in the center of the city where I'm at, they won't land for another 10-15 minutes. They'll still be trackable airborne that much time. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video on that situation. Peace.